There's no doubt that the internet has changed how customers access and enjoy their entertainment. Media convergence is now a reality, and thanks to new technologies, it has never been easier to create and distribute content to end users. However, these technologies come with their own set of challenges, which means that not all viewers have the same experiences. A viewer watching a program on the linear TV schedule sees images faster than on streaming services. But here, of course, personalization of the viewer experience is an issue.
So today we touch upon latency, which is one of the major challenges that content producers encounter when streaming from live events. We're also going to look at the role ultra low latency plays in solving some of these challenges. So we're delighted to once again be speaking with NativeWaves, a company that builds solutions to deliver multi-view experiences on single and multiple screens, in perfect sync, of course, using existing broadcast infrastructure. And Christof Haslauer, the CEO of NativeWaves, is here to discuss how they've done it. Hi, Christof. It's great to see you again. Let's start at the beginning. Let's define what latency really is.
Yeah. So hello, and I'm very pleased to be here again with you. So if we think about latency has all to do about delays of different signals. And if you think about the broadcast, then it's about when the event happens in the real world to when you see it actually on the screen. And that's the latency. And that latency occurs because there's different distribution channel. If you think about broadcast, it could be via satellite, it could be via cable. And all of these then have different kind of latencies, what you see then between the event in the real world and what you see on your screen.
Okay, so this is, we're in 2021 now, and I remember watching TV as a child, a few years ago now, admittedly, where a live link to Australia would result in a lengthy delay between presenters and interviewee. So why with today's technology do we still experience it on mainstream TV, on broadcast TV, albeit to a slightly lesser extent, of course?
Yeah, so the thing to know about latency, so there's never zero latency because it has to do with signal distribution, and that has physical limits. So if you think about it, and also if you think about multiple countries, then you always, when you have at one point and you're sending a signal to another country, there is a specific range the signal needs to travel. And everything there is bound by light speed, basically, so you never have zero latency. So what we have seen in the past year is that technology has evolved. And with that evolvement, also different distribution protocols have evolved, different kinds of distribution, and all of that adds to reduced latency. So we are now seeing much less latency, and of course with the internet, it has become much easier to distribute signals.
So that leads nicely on to the next question, really. In how has technology improved latency over the last 10 years or so?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a lot about different components in a distribution channel. So if you think about it, each component, when you think about a satellite distribution, then each component and each station adds a bit of latency there. So you have the base station, you send it upwards to space, you send it down and so on, and then you have still some distributors in the middle, and each step adds a bit of latency. Now, with the evolvement of technologies and also different ways of distributions, you can now circumvent some of these stations and make just the distribution a bit more direct. And this also has to do then, of course, if you have cable distribution, if you have internet, just the number of hops, and then also the directivity. So if you have less time to travel and less distance to travel, then this also adds to reduced latency.
So we mentioned this term that we've got from you, I think, ultra low latency at the start of the show. Now, I mean, is that how you achieve it, or can you tell us a bit more about how you achieve ultra low latency?
Yeah, so the term ultra latency usually comes to play when you think about the context of internet streaming and bring that to level of, for example, a broadcast signal. So what you normally get when you watch a linear broadcast TV, then you normally have, based on your distribution, if you're on cable or satellite, between 3 to 10 seconds of latency. So if you're watching a football game and the event, like the goal is scored in the real world, it takes 3 to 10 seconds until you actually see it on your TV screen. And if you think about internet streaming, then with the normal technologies, this goes beyond 30 seconds and even higher there. So what ultra latency now describes is a terminology that bundles different technologies that you can use to also achieve below 3 seconds latency, to be faster than, for example, a broadcast, and go below 3 seconds and even below 1 second with internet streaming technologies.
So what is NativeWaves offering the industry? What would people expect when they come to NativeWaves with a latency problem?
Yeah, so we at NativeWaves are in a unique position to actually work with multiple signals and then being able to offer that also to the user at home. So if you watch a sports game, for example, a football game, then you get all access to all those different cool camera feeds directly from the stadium. And there the key is that we reduce latency, so there is no latency between what you see on your TV and what you see, for example, on a mobile device. So if the goal is scored or if they pass the finish line on your TV, then it's critical for us to also have to synchronize on the phone, so there are no 30 seconds latency in between, and we manage that via ultra latency streaming technologies.
So are we ever going to see a scenario where, sounds a little bit far-fetched to me, but where you're delivering the live broadcast over traditional, the schedule, so to speak, the linear television, and also on the streaming? Are you ever going to get them synchronized? Are we ever going to be able to, to not detect any latency?
Yeah. So that's a super good question, because that's the key what we are trying to do with NativeWaves and what we are also managing to do across multiple devices. So we think all about different latency involved. We think about the latency involved when you have a broadcast signal. We think about the latency you get when you have mobile devices, when you have laptops, when you have smart TVs, and so on. And what we are doing is to create a unified experience. So we think about all those latency and how to make it so that for the user, this latency basically doesn't exist.
I think everyone can probably relate to watching a football match at home on 2 TV sets, and you hear a member of the family cheering in one room, and you haven't actually seen the goal yet. It's always a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you think about a lot of digital apps, for example, a live ticker, if you just think about that, then you often see already the goal because the text message is already appearing on your smartphone. But then you need to wait 10 seconds until you actually see the goal in your TV. And all these different latencies then come together and reduce the actual user experience you could have if you have a synchronized technology.
Thanks, Christof. That's really insightful. It's good to see you again, and we'll be looking forward to chatting to you again, I'm sure, very soon. Thanks also to Mediaproxy for their support of KitPlus TV, and you can, of course, check out them at Mediaproxy.com. And we'll see you next time.